Here on these rocks are some petroglyphs. We will talk about these in a later lesson, but essentially they are drawings from ancient peoples like the Indians or whomever lived here in the desert hundreds of years ago.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. Today we're going to look at petroglyphs, and then after the video, stay tuned, I will show you some pictures that I took still when we're talking about when I was in Joshua Tree. But what is a petroglyph? It's a prehistoric rock carving. What does that mean though? So what they did was that they were made by pecking directly on the rock surface. So you have a rock, right? You get a little stone chisel and a hammer stone. You've seen those pictures of Native Americans holding a stone and a chisel. And so they would peck at the outside of the rocks. And then you have this desert varnish, like on the outside of the rocks, called patina. It's on the surface, and then if you chip that away, underneath you can see the lighter rock coming out. So the darker rock's on the surface, you chip it away to make a picture of the lighter rock underneath, and that's how they created the petroglyphs. But who made petroglyphs? In the United States, they were created by Native Americans, right? So those are the people who lived here a long time ago. What about the ones in the pictures that I'm going to show you? And so specifically, we had Native Americans that were migrating through the deserts looking for food and water, right? Because that's typically what everybody would search for. And so they wanted to leave behind evidences of their activities or what was going on in their daily lives. So we can find them carved into canyon walls and on boulders, big rocks, boulders, right? Generally near food or water sites. They also call those pictographs. Pictographs and petroglyph mean the same thing. And then if they didn't chip off the rocks, they could paint those. They would use dyes that they found in berries or flowers, crush them down and mix them with water. And usually they were red, black, or white. And then you could find those on the ceilings and the walls of the rock shelters where they lived. So they were kind of creating images where their everyday life occurred. They could use mortars or grinding stones, and they could crush those seeds or those berries or those flowers, and they would grind them up like that into a fine powder or a paste. And then we can also find those materials beside those walls where they were doing those pictures. So that's how they kind of figured out that's how they were doing it, because they could find some of these materials among the rocks in the ruins. But what do they tell us? Why would they do it? When we look at those, what do we know about them? So they're powerful cultural symbols, and they reflect the complex societies and religions of the surrounding tribes. So different tribes might have different religions, or they may have different things that they do culturally. Just like here, when we do things sometimes here in West Virginia that people who live in Florida may know nothing about, or people who live in California may know nothing about. So, and then others of those would represent tribal, clan, or kaiva society markers to show where you lived within that society. And why did they want to create those? They wanted to have a record of their history. They didn't have a paper and a pencil to write things down in a book, right? So how are they going to show people, even around there now, or who came years and years after like us, what was happening? So they depicted the tribal events, ceremonial images. They also made maps of hunting areas so that they would let other people know if they were coming through the area, this would be a place that you might be able to find food, right? They want to show what life was like for them on a daily basis. One of the things that life was like that I wanted to look at briefly, and I will also show you a few pictures of, are where did they live? Where did Native Americans live? Some of them lived in teepees. You might see that depicted. But some specific Indians, like the Hopi people, lived in what are called adobe houses. And those are multi-story houses, and they're made of adobe and stone. Each unit was a home like an apartment, and they used ladders to reach the upstairs apartments. But what is adobe, right? Adobe is mud and straw, and they mix it together. They mix up a mud and take some straw, and then they form it into bricks and leave it in the sun to dry. And that will make a very strong, light brick material by which to build a house. They just stack them up to make the walls of the house, and it was very cheap to construct. In the pictures that you're going to see after this video, I was at an adobe site, and you can see where the windows might have been cut out of the home. But as we got closer to the adobe, you could actually still see the straw, individual straw units inside of it that was used to make the house. So I hope that you enjoy the video, and I hope that you like the pictures. If you like this new format, please leave us a comment below and let us know. Thank you.